Augment mods are too much of a band-aid fix, rather than something that introduces new changes that brings an underused ability to the spotlight. They fundamentally alter the way of playing a frame to the point where if you play any other way, it's considered inefficient and a hindrance. For someone like myself, I want the augment mods to be removed entirely, in favor of something more unique and give more depth to Warframe modding, and I'll get to that. But first, what's good folks, it's KnightmareFrame here with a new Warframe video, talking about augments, and how few frames are pretty much dependent on augments to function, and how augments turned into mandatory mods, forming a frame's identity. Now when you sometimes see people arguing about a frame, one says the frame is absolutely bland, boring, and in most cases, useless, while the other says, but no, you're wrong. This frame is insane, but only when used with this augment. That's what I'm pointing out and here to address. You definitely know what few frames I'm talking about. The most obvious in question is of course Sevagoth. He was originally the Gloom bot, and it was his core identity. Of course, people used the helmets to trivialize content, and at the time, as the ability allowed you to slow down enemies and gave you lifesteal. Now this was very useful during the days when Overguard did not exist, but at the same time you had to heavily invest in the build to balance out energy management with high strength to maximize the slow debuff. Over time the ability became overlooked and only used in very niche cases, and the frame himself became more forgettable until he got the augments. Not one, but two! The combination of these two augments allowed him to nuke entire maps, debuffing enemies, dealing true damage, and chain reaction explosions. Building Sevagoth without these augments makes it feel like a generic frame that requires a lot of forma investment, as you have to build not only him, but his other form, including his exalted weapon. Now this is a stark contrast to slapping in two augments, building strength, range, and the roar helmet. Another frame with something similar is Styanax. He'll be getting a prime soon, but as of yet, farming his regular version takes a while, and having to farm him through call missions, which is absolutely a drag, but again, Platinum exists. He already suffers if he isn't using Nourish to drastically empower his third ability, Energy Regeneration, making him a reasonable ability DPS. But then again, his fourth ability suffers from hitbox issues and not being able to be deactivated to reposition yourself, but then to give him ultimate survivability with a single augment that grants himself and allies overguard, completely negating any incoming damage. This augment became a staple, not necessary, but to the point playing without this augment is considered out of the norm for this frame. Another not surprising one is Gyre. Her biggest flaw is ability upkeep, as her third ability is cooldown and duration based, while the fourth is duration based. With the augment, you can permanently upkeep the duration of both abilities simultaneously, and it offers your fourth ability more damage to its discharge. Playing a Gyre fourth ability nuke build without the augment just leaves you with so much downtime here and there, and, well, you lose some damage. But one of the biggest offenders is Lavos. This frame does not use energy as a resource to cast his abilities, but rather all his abilities are cooldown based, requiring you to do a whole rotation to reduce the cooldown of some abilities. However, with the Swiftbite augment, it makes the whole process of cooldown reduction less of a chore, but still, needing to find and hit 4 enemies to reduce the cooldown can be a hassle, especially if you're nuking with Lavos with his lingering effects. These are some of the most obvious examples, and how augment designs make you wonder, why aren't some of these part of the main kit? Like for example, you need an augment to recast a Roar, while Eclipse, Vex Armor, Xata's Whisper, pretty much all the damage buffs can be recasted. Or not to mention Excalibur Umbra. Instead of fixing his underlying issues surrounding his sentience passive being so buggy, they give us an augment to disable the passive. It's just so lazy, man. So my suggestion is crazy, but not too drastic. But you know how people are always suggesting, oh, we should get an extra slot for augment mods. I say no to that. but rather remove augments entirely. We can get specialized skill trees that allow you to path to nodes that augment abilities and empowering abilities in more ways than one, like taking a special keystone passive and choosing one of the multiple options to further boost the ability itself with, let's say, increased range, duration, damage, or its potency. And these buffs will be unique to the ability that is augmented. At the same time, these nodes will remove the need to even use Archon shards, as the smaller nodes will buff things like strength, duration, and so on. And this might leave some room for better Warframe mods to actually improve survivability rather than just relying on Overguard or invulnerability. But doing something so drastic like this would require a lot of work, time, rebalancing, testing, so test servers are definitely in need. It's overly ambitious. For me personally, I want Warframe to be a game that really brings in and keeps their players, allowing different variety in builds rather than just the same copy-paste bullshit, pretty much. Sure, there will always be optimal setups for specific farms and mission types, but having options is always good. Okay, or here's something easy that DE can do, alright? Is to implement some augments into the abilities themselves and rework or retouch augments and have them as socketables on the ability themselves rather than taking up a mod slot. Because there are some Warframe builds that require more than one augment, and that's where a lot of min-maxing, oh, I need to take out this mod, now I need to use this. Sure, that can be fun, but now just imagine there's more variety and options. But to do all of that, they need to sort out the power creep issue, which again, we go back to the previous thing about rebalancing. For me, I love skill trees, so I want that instead. Funny enough, Korean Warframe has skill trees, but they're a bitch to level. When I last played, you had to do this one mission over and over again, but that's over and done with. So, how do you guys feel about this? What suggestions do you have to add to this very topic? But anyway, that has been it from me. I do hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. Bye-bye now.